Hello, everyone. My name is Andreas Pop Culture Talk. Not Will. Oh my God. Chris and I, of course, Chris, my good buddy, are back again for another spectacular Andreas Pop Culture Talk. Chris, how you doing?
Good. How are you doing, Andre? Excited to be having this podcast with you. I know it's been a while, and
Yep.
we got some pretty exciting things to talk about.
Yes. So, yeah. So this is was it episode 4 of the whole podcast of Andreas Pop Culture Talk. Next week we're gonna get two separate podcasts from this current podcast that you're gonna listen to, which is the trailer discussion on the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. Specifically the trailer 2, and then of course a full-on spoiler cast on Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Me, Chris saw it twice, which was awesome. So I am very excited to discuss this again. Just to remind our reviewers, for me, I did do a spoiler cast before. That was Will. That's in the other channel, the DC Marvel Plus Talk. So check that out over there, the Marvel Plus Talk, because it would be much more fun. Because this time around, I saw more Easter eggs and discussions that me, Chris had, and stuff that I didn't bring up in the latest from that podcast, which I totally wish I did, but thankfully I can do it here. So anyway, let's do this. We're gonna do first the trailer 2 discussion of the TMNT Mutant Mayhem, and then afterwards we'll discuss Spider-Verse. Is that good for you, Chris?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so let's discuss the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Mutant Mayhem trailer 2 discussion. We saw this in the theater. Which was fun, and I still love this trailer. Did you had a chance to watch it before this podcast, or just didn't
I
have to?
I unfortunately did not, but I saw that it got really good reactions because they recently had a screening. It's the cut is unfinished, but they recently had a screening at the Annecy International Film Festival on Monday, and the crowd, went nuts and
Yes,
received a standing ovation, and it was so good that the director Jeff Rowe had to return to the stage to soak in the praise, and here's what he had to say. I'm gonna read you a quote. Being in the room and feeling all the reactions and hearing all the laughter was amazing. But what really stood out to me was to see our movie received and appreciated in that way by a lot of people who really love and care about animation.
Mm,
So I think that tells you a lot about what we should expect when this film comes out.
yes, I will. Thanks for bringing that up. I just saw that just today. I think I saw that, and I was pretty excited now for the movie now in August, which is good because I really like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle franchise, so this gives me a lot of enthusiasm towards the movie, which is great. And I think that's one of the things that's like very good to get the positive word of mouth way before the movie comes out in August 2nd. So I really appreciate Chris. You brought up the quote from the director. So I'm very happy that the screenings went well, so which is good. Now, I guess just overall opinions. I think the trailer was really good. I think it conveyed a lot more what's gonna be in the film. Like, of course, what's the arcs for our 4 main turtle heroes in the film, and how they want to be accepted, and try to live a normal life as a teenagers, which I really like, and that's very good that they're aiming at. Particularly with these characters, which we're really aiming at them as actual teenagers. It's great because sometimes in some of the versions we don't spend time with that. There's a few that do. Like I think the 1990 version does that well. the 2012 version from Nickelodeon that ran for 5 seasons, did really well for that. So I'm very excited for that. We'll be doing more of that. The villains, we didn't know too much about the villains until I think this trailer. Um, so far, the villains are not going to beat the Foot Clan, Alex Shredder, so that's very promising. Instead, we're going to get more mutants villains, which I'm excited for because we haven't really gotten that in the live action films, or even we tried to do that from Michael Bay version one, 2016, Out of Shadows one, but that didn't do great with that. It was just a mess. So I'm very excited to see that, particularly because we're not only getting Superfly, we're also going to get Baxter Stockman, who's a great character. He had his first live action debut in the Out of Shadows. He was played by Tyler Perry. Of course, with this Stockman is going to be voiced by what's his name? That's from Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. Um, uh, Giancarlo Esposito is going to voice Baxter Stockman, which is great. So that's good that using that villain for that. I'm really excited to see this new version of April O'Neil here. Race-bid her. This is the second time they did that with April. The first time they did that was the new cartoon that came out in I think 2019 or 2018 of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and Nickelodeon. So, but yeah. So overall, I really enjoyed this trailer 2 discussion. I'm kind of curious, what's your overall opinion on the trailer, Chris? So, what's your opinion on the trailer 2 discussion? I already expressed mine already.
Oh yeah, I like the trailer because it gave off a lot of like teenage vibes, and it reminded me so much of Across the Spider Verse. Just the animation itself and the visuals were amazing, and it was funny. It was entertaining, and as you pointed out, I love the casting. And it's
Yes,
gonna be yeah. Hold on. Yeah, I'm okay. It's gonna be yes, and it's gonna be very interesting to see how it plays out with the cast.
yes. I think so. One of the things that I'm really because I say the
Hello.
hello. Sorry, I had to sneeze. So anyway,
Did
yeah,
you lose reception?
no. I just had to sneeze, so I had to mute myself. So anyway, I thought that I'm really curious about the cast because I think that because with the four Turtle heroes, they're going to be newcomers, and they're going to be the first time ever for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles teaming playing these characters, which is good. So I'm very excited to see more we're going to get actual portrayal, like the actual feel and acting of a teenager from actual teenagers of actors. So that's really cool. And particularly, I'm very excited for the other main cast. Very intriguing cast. So Ice Cube is going to play Superfly, which we saw in the trailer. I'm very stoked for that. I love Ice Cube as an actor. Um, but then that's weird because if you don't know your TMNT history or lore of the universe, Baxter Stockman becomes Fly. When he mutates. So I'm kind of intrigued if they're separating the characters as the main two villains, or Stockman is going to be portrayed as a henchman for the Superfly. I'm really curious where they're going to do with that because it's funny that we got Gino Esposito voicing Stockman, which I'm excited for. I think he's a great choice for that. John Cena voicing as Rocksteady, which I like. Rocksteady, Bebop are in this movie, which is great. Two of the most iconic names in the TMNT. So it's great that they are here. And of course, Bebop is going to be voiced by Seth Rogen. So that's pretty cool. So that's really great. Yeah, and then the weird thing is, like, so another one is Rose Byrne, the actress that plays. She's in the two serious horror films. That's with Patrick Wilson, and of course she's gonna be back in the third, in the new one coming in July. It's gonna voice Leatherhead, the another famous mutant villain from the TMNT. So that's intriguing. And then Jackie Chan, voicing as Splinter. I think that's a really good choice for the mentor slash father of the four turtles. So that's really cool. And of course, Paul Rudd is going to be here. Maya Rudolph is going to voice as well as some of the mutant villains that we see here, which they're called the Mighty Mutant Animals, as they called. So they're like in the description I'm looking at right now, they're from like they're basically like superhero team, but with a band of how you say it, aminal like mutants. So they're using them as some of the villains. So that's kind of cool. So yeah, so I'm very excited for this casting. They look so far good.
Yes, and I like that, this film is going to focus on the teenage, part of the characters because that's who they are, like they're teenagers. And it was weird how, like, like other versions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in film, didn't really focus on the teenage aspect of them. So we're definitely, I definitely feel like, and I'm anticipating and expecting that it'll probably touch on, I guess, like the daily struggles and issues of, being a teenager.
Yeah.
I think that, and I think that scene we saw when we saw Spider Verse discussing what would you do if you had a normal life, and one of them was talking about going to school and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
I'm definitely anticipating that come August. And
Yeah.
August is almost here. And, we're only 2 months away, and we're almost done with June, so it'll be here before I know it. And I think this film is going to do well.
Yes, I hope so because I definitely want more, more superhero animation films. Since Spider-Verse has came around, we got the Lego Batman movie, Big Hero 6. So I hope that we get more like adaptations of superheroes in animation form because they can do a lot more than what the live action films can do. You know, excuse me, like let's be honest here. Like the Spider Verse franchise is way better at doing, multiverse than what's really going on in DC and Marvel in general. The only film that's like gotten close to do with the multiverse concept really well is everywhere, everywhere. Oh my god, they got a long name here. We'll get this correct because it's an Oscar film. Yeah. Yes, Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Great film. I saw it. It was great. It's one of the best multiverse live action films to date. So, yeah. So, I mean, DC and Marvel hasn't really scratched to that point of multiverse excitement for me. So yeah, I'm very intrigued about this. What else? Do you agree that you want to see more like superheroes in animation films more? If this film does successful.
To be honest, I lean more to live action realistic fiction.
What?
I've never really been into yeah, I never really got into animation like that because it just wasn't my thing. I just always preferred live action following, and that's why I had told you that Across the Spider Verse was the best animation film I have ever seen. Just the visuals and the storytelling was amazing, and the voice acting, I really loved it. And if it wasn't for that film, I don't think I would have been this excited for
That's all right. I mean, that's very true. for the animation style. That's very true. I'm very like shocked that like you're seeing the Pixar films and DreamWorks, right? Uh, uh, uh in the last decade, right? Uh, like you're seeing other animation films, right?
I'm sorry, say that again.
You seen like all the animation films?
I mean, not besides
Spider Verse.
the Spider Verse and Demon Slayer. I haven't really seen animation like that.
Wow,
Like I told you, I never got it. I never got into it.
wow. So you haven't seen any animation films from Pixar or DreamWorks? That's intriguing. Okay.
I did when I was a kid, but like it's been a long time, and like I said, I've
Hmm.
never been into animation. That's just not my thing.
Hmm. Okay. Okay. That makes sense. I mean, the same thing with horror, as you told me. Horror is just another thing that you're not into, right? As well. So, but yeah. So okay, I can see why. And speaking of animation, you brought up the style of this film. So one thing that was really intriguing, from the concept art posters, even the teaser trailer a long time ago, and then this trailer, because you brought this up, and it's very clear how Spider Verse has definitely influenced this movie, and it's really cool. The animation by got this up. The Macros Animation is a French company that's creating digital effects, post production, and animation. So they're doing this animation. Some of the movies that they have done, is of course, Underpants, the first epic movie from 2017. I seen that. That's a really good movie. The SpongeBob movie from 2020, Sponge on the Run. That looks really cool. And then movies that they've done in terms of visual effects, they sort uh, sort of did. Oh, yeah. Uh,
Well, I will say one animation film that I really liked was I actually saw it for the first time yesterday was Flashpoint Flashpoint Paradox.
oh,
Um,
I know what you're
yeah,
talking about. Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Of course, I've been in the storyline itself was just amazing. I remember the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. Do you remember that?
Yes, I
That
do
was one
remember
of
that
my
one.
that was one of my favorite movies when I was a kid, and I used to love SpongeBob. I used to love Family, like Family Guy. And I even think I got into Dragon Ball Z a little bit when I was a kid, but I guess, as you grow up, you kind of like, it was like, you don't have the same taste for them anymore, I guess. But those were my shows when I was a kid.
Wow. Huh. Yeah, well, I agree. Man, you brought up SpongeBob the movie. That was really good, but the animation mixed with live action. I Puss in Boots. You seen that one? I actually forgot you saw it briefly before you had to leave. During that Thursday in January. Um, you need to watch that. It's a really great film. Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Yeah, I totally agree with you. Dragon Ball Z. I remember that one. I mean, it was very popular during our time when you and I were growing up. Like Dragon Ball Z, Yu-Gi-Oh. I don't even remember Yu-Gi-Oh. That was a great animation film. I mean, I wanted to collect all the Yu-Gi-Oh cards from that. Of course, Pokemon. It was very popular back then. So yeah. And also popular at that time was the 2003 version of the TMNT. I don't know if you've seen that. I guess I'm kind of curious. Are you a big fan of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? Like, did you seen some of the older ones that like that you were growing up, Chris?
Yeah, I did see some of the older ones when I was growing up, and actually, I was playing with them a little bit in Justice 2. So yeah, I
Oh,
am definitely familiar. So I definitely am familiar with like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and their older versions, but I was just so pissed with the last movie they made with Alan Richter,
That's
who starred as Hermes in Fast 10, and I even watched an old
yes,
interview with Richter saying he hated that movie, for several reasons, citing production as one of them. So I have confidence that this one will do well,
yeah,
considering that the unfinished cut of it was showed and it got a standing ovation.
yeah. I even shocked they did that. Yeah, you brought up the Michael Bay two live action. Well, Michael Bay produced TMNT films. Yeah, they're not good. I know what you're talking about in terms of the interview that Richardson did. If you could check that out in Collider, I think he went in very deep about what was going on with the first two films. But yeah, it was. I mean, those films were a huge mistake. I mean, the first one was such a course correction slash reaction to, if you know the aliens, the Teenage Mutant Turtles was going to be aliens, and they have to change that apparently. So a lot of course correction with the films, especially the second one. The second one was trying to really be kid friendly, less Bay like dark tone that was going on during the 2010s. But yeah, as you say, for Chris, I think this movie is doing a lot better than that did, and seeing the trailers, like everything seems right, and they're actually doing great. And I think we're gonna get a potential another Spider-Verse level for these characters that we love, which was great. So I'm very excited for that. Just like Spider-Verse that did for Spider-Man slash Miles Morales, I think this is a good choice. And the next one to be, four turtles, which is great. So, yeah. So, thank God that we got the the first response of that uncut one. So that's really good. So hopefully it goes well when we see it on August 2nd. But yeah, anything else to say besides that? Are you ready to move on for Spider Verse, Chris?
Oh yes, I am.
All right, all right. Let's do this. All right. So now we're entering the spoiler cast for Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. This huge warnings. This is spoiler cast. You haven't seen the film. Click this off. Check the film first, and then come back and listen to this full podcast of Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in Andreas Pop Culture Talk. So now, Chris. So you and I saw it twice. I guess you have seen the first one back 5 years ago, and of course it's in Netflix. Um, I I don't know.
5 years is worth the wait.
Yes, yes, 5 years. Oh my God! First, it was supposed to come out in 2022 last year, and then they had to push it back to this year, particularly in June. But man, I think the wait was worth it, as you say. I think this is my personal favorite 23 film of this year, and the still and of course in terms of the superhero films that we've gotten so far this year is number one for me at 2023 of this year, which is great. Um, yeah, this is great. I think it's better than the first one. The fact that
I
I saw it
slowly
twice.
agree.
Oh, really? Okay. So
Oh
I
yes,
would.
it's miles ahead of the first one.
No. Oh yeah. Oh, we can discuss that. That's very true. But yeah, I thought this. I mean, oh my God, this movie did everything right. What you love about the first Spider Verse is still here. But in such a big, ex, you know, expansion of the Spider Verse universe. Finally, like finally getting into more Spider Verse stuff, but in more ambitious and very ambitious storytelling of you know uh, not all stories are set in stone, which that's the whole thematic crutch of this film. And Miles. realizing that he has to do his own thing. He's not, every Spider-Man. He has to go his own path, which is great. And I think everything about this film exceeds what I love about the first film and does it better. What's your overall opinion on Spider-Verse? Across the Spider-Verse.
My overall opinion on Across the Spider-Verse was that the storytelling, the voice acting, the visuals, and just the character development was top notch and off the charts. Um, only few things I'll say is that I just couldn't understand why Miguel O Hara has such a weird personal vendetta against Miles. Is because it's not his fault that he got bitten by a spider. It's not his fault that what the multiverse is in the multiverse, and the canon event was at risk of causing catastrophic consequences. And Miguel O'Hara was right. He is just a kid. He's a teenager that's trying to find himself and his place in society. And I can see in some ways you do kind of root for him, because you understand, you see his story, you understand his story, and that's why the directors wanted to really tap into that more, because in the early development of this particular character, the directors or producers even said that he was too much of an a-hole.
Yeah,
But
yeah, it's very true.
and
Yeah,
and
especially
I
how
just
he.
really and I just really love how Miles stood up for himself, in that Miguel was explaining to him that being Spider-Man comes with sacrifice, and this canon event with your father dying, it's supposed to happen for you to become Spider-Man. And then Miles is having none of it. Is that's just so messed up what you guys are doing. So for the sake of keeping some algorithm and under control, we have to endure personal loss and tragedy and possibly risk millions of lives. That's really messed up. And so
Yeah,
I can you can see perspectives. You could see Miguel's side of things. You can understand where he's coming from, but at the same time, you can also understand where Miles is coming from. So they're both I would say they're both right in their philosophy and their motives. In this situation with the canon event and the multiverse.
mhm, yeah. So I agree. Agree or disagree, I would say. Well, first up, I like how you brought up the Miguel. First, you know, I say, well, he didn't have a problem with Miles. Like he was trying to control the situation that Miles didn't know about the Ken event, but the way he did it was not really soft. Like it wasn't subtle, so it was very aggressively. And honestly, using his friends, particularly Gwen and Peter B, was very dick move of him to get them aboard this iteration of keeping Miles in the Spider Society building. For that kind of event to happen to his dad, Miles' father. Um, and then secondly, the reason that he does have another problem is more legit. I mean, because the second time around, you got it. I got this more into the second time was the fact that this Miles wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man, which we'll get into with the ending or the
Talk about a
cliffhanger.
plot twist.
Yeah. Speaking of the plot twist, did you Well, you and I saw it the first time. I don't think we caught it right away, right? The first time, did you caught that twist in the
No,
first time
no.
around? Okay.
I'll tell you what I didn't
Yeah.
catch, that because I had to see it again on a YouTube short, that when Miles gets his Spidey sense, the I guess the lines from his head,
Yeah.
they were purple, but then after a few seconds they turn into red and blue.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I feel like that was kind of foreshadowing that the spider that bit Miles, wasn't supposed to be Earth 1610 miles. It was supposed to be Earth 42 miles.
Yes.
And another thing I
That's
caught too, the second time, was that, remember when Miles was escaping on that portal or whatever to try to get back home, but
yes.
it recognized the Earth 42 spot. It recognized his DNA from the Earth 42 because the
Yes.
spider that bit him was from Earth 42. So that's why it sent him back to Earth 42. It didn't send him back to 1610.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Another hint of the twist was the mom, Miguel's mom. If you didn't pay attention to her mom, like her mom's eyes are brown in the 1610, but in Earth 42 she had green eyes. So that was another indication that she was different, and I caught that the second time. When we saw it again last Sunday.
wait, you're talking about her eyes?
Yeah, her eyes, when they draw her in the film, is always brown, and
Mm-hmm.
42, she has green.
Oh,
So
I didn't catch that. I think what was I mean, it was pretty obvious, but once she said, who's once she said who's Spider-Man, that's when I
mhm.
started to figure, you know what? He may be in the wrong universe. And then again, he glitched, and that's was like, oh snap, he really is in the wrong universe. And then we saw
As
Uncle
Gwen said
Aaron.
it, yeah,
Hmm?
yeah, as Gwen said it, as Gwen Stacy, when Gwen was saying he was in the wrong universe, in
Right.
her thought bubble, it was like, oh, okay, yeah. Sorry, continue. I'm sorry, I had to
Yeah.
interrupt Gwen.
Um, and I liked how you saw more of an arc of you saw more of the relationship between his parents and
Yes,
Miles and his parents. Miles obviously, and I'm glad he explained that he felt that if he had revealed his identity to them, they wouldn't love him the same. And of course, his parents didn't really, and of course, his parents didn't really listen. And I know Miles wasn't being, and of course, Miles wasn't being too honest with him, but when you're around your family, they don't listen to you. It's kind of hard to open up to them and to be honest with them because it seems
no,
like,
yeah, yeah, I agree. Well, and it's tough.
and
You know,
Gwen, listen, we gotta look at Gwen. Gwen wasn't being honest with him either. And it's
mhm,
kind of sad that it is kind of sad that it left off when it ended. The last interaction between Miles and Gwen was like, goodbye, Gwen. So you could see how that kind of threw a wrench in their friendship. And I'm interested seeing how their relationship plays out in this next one. Will Miles, eventually come around to forgive her, or, you know,
mhm,
will Miles still be mad at her for that? You weren't honest with me, and you kept things from me, and I'm your best friend.
yeah. Ooh, it's a good question. I hope like Miles, like I think it has to be like when like Polly does a kiss to him, and then that's where they probably can maybe trust each other, maybe, or like build up their friendship to be more of a relationship in the third film, and because her dad survived, so like she can write this kind of event easily for making the Gwen relationship thing not be tragic tragedy as previously known in the Spider-Man mythos in the universe, and that like Gwen and a Spider-Man can be together in a happy way, just like Mary J and Peter, as always. Yeah, I'm really curious where we left off to pick that up in the third one, because that's like you brought up so many good ones, Chris. The parents and then Gwen and the relationship with Miles. Let's get into Gwen. And then let me pick it back on the parents. Um, I think one of the reasons that I really like about this film and why I personally liked it more than the first one was seeing more Gwen in the film, and I think the film was pretty much a Gwen film because she had an arc throughout the film from the beginning, and like she had completed her arc. Her you know learning to accept new friendship and everyone as friends, and that's specifically the image towards that will get her um building the three Spider-Man that we met to this movie that really like Miles and trust Gwen, joining the team with the OG Spider-Man team that we got from the previous film, with Spider-Man Noir, Spider-Ham, and Spider-Penny. Um, I am very excited to see her next logical arc in the next film. I thought Gwen Stacy, voiced by Hailee Steinfeld, was really awesome. She was the MVP for this film. Well, there's other MVPs in this film. Um, I thought she was really great. I mean, I was not expecting when the first time we saw it, and the second time I enjoyed it more was seeing her world for the first time and see it completely. But what do you thought about Gwen and her arc and her being her film in the sequel?
So I loved seeing more Gwen in the film, and I loved seeing more of her story. And I loved that she went through the same things that Miles went through, and not revealing, her identity because she felt like her father wouldn't love her the same. And early in the movie, you saw that even though the father was like torn up, he was still ready to arrest her, even though obviously she didn't kill Peter Parker. But what would you expect? Hey, Dad, I'm Spider Girl, or I'm Spider Man. Knowing that you already have negative perceptions about this Spider Man. Um, Definitely, you saw Gwen go through an identity crisis too, like finding her place, and I think that's why she.
uh, the Gwen relation with Miles, and her arc throughout the film, from beginning to end. What do you thought about Gwen and her this movie
I
being
loved
her?
seeing more of her, and highlighted it. How much she was going through the same things that Miles was going through, and the stories are very similar. I don't know.
Yeah,
The
yeah, it
dad,
was.
both their dads are cops. They're both spider people, and they both are trying to find their place in the world, and they both have that fear that if they were to reveal their identity to their parents or their loved ones, they wouldn't love them the same. And you even saw how the dad was still going to arrest her for Peter Parker's murder, even though she didn't kill him.
Yeah, yeah, which is shocking. I'm happy that you brought that up because I brought that up with Will. Will was shocked about the connection that I brought up about Miles and Stacy, Gwen and their parents being cops, and like that's very like coincidence. Like it's very coincidences that the filmmakers have done that, which is funny, but maybe it was on purpose. Because like now, because it's funny because we're talking about the Ken event, right? How there's a certain thing that happens to a Spider-Man, right? It's not only Uncle Ben, but like a Captain Stacy or someone is the other key thing that affects, Spider-Man, which is true. We saw that a little bit in a couple of the movies, with Andrew Garfield and some of the cartoons. Um, and so it's kind of funny that they did that, but it's really cool to see that that Gwen's dad quit, because of her, and I like that, and then speaking of that, her world was so fantastic. I could have done like a whole movie just being her world, like because it was so like because the affirmation like was almost like a water pencil, like it was like a water paint. When we were seeing the emotions that Gwen was going through, like if it was sad, it was like kind of blue. When it was like you see love, it was kind of like pinkish, like some of the best fantastic animation I saw ever was really Gwen's universe, which was neat. And I don't know, I just thought everything about Gwen was great in this film. And yeah, I agree that her I think her storyline was exactly the same what was Miles was going through in this movie as well, but in different ways. You know, Miles and Gwen's are similar but opposite, where she needs to accept that she needs to, you know, actually form friendship, where Miles needs to form his new path, his path as Spider-Man, you know. And so there's the difference, but there's similar ways between each other, you know. And I really like that. So, but yeah, any thoughts about the animation around Gwen's universe?
Oh yeah, I just liked, the coloring
Mhm.
around Spencer Universe. You saw a lot of like blue and pink,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
was so cool. And some people took that as to mean that Gwen is a trans person, and that may speak to the identity crisis that many trans people, go through. I mean, that's not what I took from it. I don't think that's what it was,
no,
but that's what some people took from it.
no. I mean, I totally get it. Why? Because they're it's just like there's illusions of them like supporting the trans community. Like, of course, there's like a I think a slogan, protect trans kids in Gwen's room. And then when we I think when we see again Gwen father and later in the film, he has like a trans logo, like the trans flag in his jacket. You know, so like they're I think they're more like supporters of the community, and like, you know, like us, we support, you know, like for you and maybe in your family, like you support the Black Lives Matter, right? Like you support that, you know, that community, like community and something that's going on. Or like me, I'm a Latino, I will support, you know, the Latin community. And you know, like it's this kind of what the Stacy family is doing, they're supporting the trans community, you know. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's what it. I personally don't think that's what it was. To like, to send a message about like the LGBTQ community. I just think they just wanted. I just think it was just making good film and moving forward with the story. I don't think there was any like social or political agenda to it. I
no,
just think the color. I just think the colors. Really spoke to Gwen's story and just Gwen herself. That's what I think.
yeah, no, I agree. I mean, you're also right on that part. It's just maybe a nice detail in the animation, either unintentionally or intentionally. So I agree on that part. But it's interesting they put that in that universe and states that Gwen's you know, apartment. You know, it just adds a little detail of the character, who she is. You know, and what she is about. You know, which is great. I guess another thing it was kind of cool. You know, another Easter egg I totally cut off was Yui. Yui Watanabe. That's from the PS game. If you play that, she becomes the Blade. She's actually in this universe. She's one of the partners that Stacy is talking to in the beginning. She's in that. If you play the game, she's in this movie as well. The police that helped Spider-Man throughout the first game. But yeah, uh, but yeah, you know, speaking of the opening, I thought the opening of the museum fight with the Renaissance Vulture was really neat and a great way to start the the film again in this universe, and like seeing Miguel O Hara and Spider Woman Jessica Drew in this scene was great. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and I love how I love how it's set up for. Miles showdown with the Spot, and
Mm,
I think, and honestly, I
sure.
think that honestly, it could be possible. I don't think that Earth 42 Miles is going to stay a bad guy as this next one, because the fact that the Spider was actually supposed to spite him, I think that Spider still sensed some good in him, which is why it was supposed to bite him
Mhm.
in the first place. Um, and you see the Spot is clearly driven by revenge against Miles, and he was the cause of all that chaos going on in across the Spider Verse, not Miles. So I still don't understand why Miguel has such an
Right,
animosity against Miles when it's not his fault at all.
right. I don't know. I think the 42 miles will be another antagonist that Miles have faced because the way he acted towards the end of the film, like, was very sinister, and I don't think there's gonna be no redemption for the character. Maybe just like a man, like it's sort of like the Aaron situation that we had in the last movie, where maybe he will probably get accidentally killed, and maybe aspire. No, I think you know what's gonna happen because we got Aaron in 42, right? Maybe they're gonna do is like a very accidental thing, just like how our version of Miles that we're following is also accidental. I think the version of Aaron from 42 will be the Spider-Man for that. Like the death of Miles, his version of Miles, will be the trigger for him to become a Spider-Man, right? Because Miles of 42 became the flower, and I think that could happen. And when he's how he gets spider powers is really something else. But I think it'd be kind of funny they like flip that and see Aaron becoming a Spider-Man. That'd be kind of cool to see, you know. So that could happen. That I could see maybe this version of Miles from 42, the Plower, right? Maybe be the bad guy, and then you realize what he's done, and maybe he will be accidentally killed, and that maybe could inspire his version of his Uncle Aaron to become a Spider-Man. What do you think?
Surprised to see the cameo with Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, and I'm wondering, could we see Tom Holland and Miles Morales, share a screen at some point?
Uh, yeah, that's true. But what you thought? Well, you brought up Easter eggs, but what you thought about the theory I did with the evil Miles, the sinister Miles? Like what I said, like Uncle Aaron becoming maybe the Spider-Man for that universe for 42. Earth 42.
Um,
Or you don't see that happening.
no, I really don't see that happening.
Okay, okay.
Um, did you notice? I wonder if you noticed. Did you notice that when Miles was talking to Earth 42, Aaron,
Uh-huh.
and he was talking about how Uncle Aaron, did a lot of bad things, but he wanted to be a good guy. Uncle Aaron's face and eyes, he lifted up his face and eyes when Miles said that. Did you notice that at all?
Yeah, I did. I think that it is like it could be very true still for that version, and that maybe he's just trying to ignore the words from that version of Miles, because
Right.
he knows he has his other Miles,
Yeah,
you
and
know.
another reason why I don't see Aaron being that Spider-Man in that universe is because
Mhm.
there is no Spider-Man to stop them. And if you notice, there was Easter eggs of the Sinister Six in that universe,
Yes.
and and it gave and that Earth 42 really gave that hopeless, everything and everybody is corrupt, feel. So I don't see Aaron being a Spider-Man in that universe when it's
Okay.
just so dark and gloomy and hopeless.
Yeah.
Because with Spider-Man, even though like they're still bad, there's a lot of hope that remains intact. But in this universe, there's no hope at all.
Right, right. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I'm kind of curious how our version of Miles will interact with this universe if we spent a lot more time with Earth 42. You know, I'm kind of curious if we're gonna do that in the next film. Because I wish we can spend more time on Earth 42. Like, what happened to it? You know, how did Miles? You know, we know Miles became the power because the father, Jefferson, died probably in the Lion Dewey. And so I'm kind of curious what happened to this Earth 42, you know? So hopefully we expand upon that in the next film, you know?
Yeah, I think it will, because I think the next film will just pretty much wrap everything up.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. Agree.
And
Um,
I think that, and I also think that I was thinking that since Miles, Earth 1610 Miles is an anomaly, it
yeah,
could be possible that the rules of like the canon event don't apply to him.
yeah, that's true. Yeah, like every Miles doesn't apply to the canon. That's very true because the way he, what happened to his universe hasn't been affected really, and then same thing with Earth 42. So I'm kind of curious if we will address
Right,
that.
and also, remember when Gwen asked Miguel, if the canon breaks or whatever, do you even know what happens? And Miguel just said, "Oh, you want to find out?" And that made me think, did Miguel, tell Miles everything? Because it
Yeah,
could be possible that maybe he actually doesn't know what could happen.
yeah,
Um, if Miles doesn't go through with the canon, and because he's an anomaly, the rules don't apply to since the rules don't apply to him, it could be possible that he could actually break this canon event and it won't cause anything catastrophic.
yeah. I agree. Um, yeah, I do wonder that. There's some distrust between us, the viewers, to Miguel. We don't know the full extent of what happened to the world that he was in, the other version of Miguel O Hara, like what happened to it. So because despite that, we saw the PRB was helping him to get everyone out from that universe, from whatever the canon event was for that universe, or that parallel world. So I'm kind of curious, like the full extent that does Miguel understand the canon event and like what happened to it, you know? So I'm kind of curious if we're gonna address that in the next film. But yeah. I mean, I guess the next thing we should discuss is Miles. I thought Miles was great in this film. I mean, besides Gwen, I think Miles was really awesome in this movie. I think bringing up again the parents. I thought it was really great to spend more time with the parents, especially with the mom. Get into the more like what one of the things I like about this film was the superhero identity crisis that Miles was going through. How to balance his life between a normal kid and Spider-Man, and it was full on like great in this film. Like they really handled that just like Spider-Man 2 or the Tobey Maguire films and the Andrew Garfield film in that way. And I thought it was really handled. I like everything what they did with Miles here. I'm excited where we take him in the next film. You know?
Yeah, and I like how at the end when Miles was held captive at Earth 42, when he
Yeah,
saw his Earth 42 variant, you saw his face, and it was just full of disappointment. And then when Earth 42 Miles put that Prowler glove on the side of that heavy bag, he was
yeah,
scared. But then at the last scene, when he put his finger on the chain to use his venom, you saw that
yeah,
he immediately changed his face and that he wasn't afraid anymore. So I love how Miles, made three different facial expressions at once, and I really think that goes to show his maturity and his character development. And you saw he was still going through an identity crisis. Still
yeah,
hesitating to reveal, his identity to his parents. Eventually, he did it to the Earth 42 mom, but I think eventually he'll reveal his identity in the last one, probably at the last scene in the climax of the next film.
Maybe. That's a good point. I like what I like about this movie is that Miles becoming more mature. You saw how like we also saw that with the train sequence where he was trying to distract all the Spider-Mans to get out from the Spider building, so that he can like go back to his dimension, which it ended up being Earth 42 instead. Like that was a good move from Miles to trick everyone, including Miguel O Hara, to get away from the Spider Society headquarters. And yeah, and then same thing with with the saving of the India Spider-Man, Captain Stacy version, and how he saved the kid in that. Like, he really is becoming a Spider-Man in a very mature way. So I thought that ending, as you brought up, Chris, towards the end, really showcased that he's really grown as a adult. And the facial expression, as you say, Chris, is really fantastic. I love that animation. Like, it almost felt like real live action. That. So, and I guess get into the other Spider-Man. Who's your favorite Spider-Man? The new Spider-Mans that we got here. Is it Indiana Spider-Man, Spider-Punk, Spider-Man 2099, or Spider-Woman?
Spider-Punk, that's my guy. Because he was kind of like an F the system kind of guy, and
yes,
I just like how I feel like he stood up for Miles, and I think
yeah,
he was basically calling Miles like, yeah, like think for yourself, like don't let people tell you, like people control you. I mean, he did like say that directly, but I feel like that's the kind of vibe he was giving. And he even's like, yeah, after Miles, was stood up for it, it was like, yo, I'm not accepting this canon event thing. Spider was like, yep, I quit, and
yeah,
that shit. It
yeah,
just showed you that he wasn't down with it what they were doing, and I love how when Gwen said we are supposed to be the good guys.
yes, yeah. I agree. Nah, God, you're right. Spider Punk was really great in this film. I mean, Daniel Kaluuya, great actor. So happy he's part of another Marvel universe, just like Arthur Isaac. And yeah, the second time around, I didn't notice this, but it's funny that Spider Punk was helping Miles how to use his powers. Particularly the Venom.
Mm-hmm.
Um, thing, and like how he used his palms. Like that was a cool detail to show how he was like really liking Miles and tried to help him hone in his fire abilities. And then the other thing was, I love how he's a British punk and like he actually doesn't like the establishment. That is very true, and I like that they went to that instead of just him being the was the obvious one, the pre-established system, like he was into the system. But no, like I like that this version of Spider Punk is against the establishment, which is great, and that's a running through of this film. How like it's not all like hunky dunky of the establishment, particularly the Spider Society. And so I thought that was really good to use Spider Punk to reflect that. Like Miles needs to learn that that's not all good, be part of this establishment of society. And another thing I like about Spider Punk was the animation. Like he really felt like a rock punk poster, come together. I really love his animation. It's particularly with the watch that he gave to Gwen towards the end. Like actually, it was from his universe, and that was a really cool detail. Yeah, and so it makes sense why he joined the team with Gwen towards the end. And yeah, everything about Spider Punk was really great, you know. Uh, and another, I guess my favorite has to be India Spider Man. I thought he was great. I thought his universe was a great way to spend time in the universe after spending time with Gwen. I thought that was another great sequence. I thought the actor that voiced him, who's from the Deadpool films, who played uh, Ponty from Deadpool, he was really great choice to voice India Spider Man, and I thought his animation there was great. I love the joke about the TT, the Thai tea. that was so hilarious seeing the Miles just not stopping the tea, and it just spilling over. It's so funny. I thought everything about that sequence was really great. Um, and so he's my
I
favorite.
like the Indian actor that played the Spider-Man from India. He was very funny, and he just made me laugh every scene he was in. I thought he was the comedic one of the comedic reliefs in this film, and I liked how Gwen dropped her just like her casual lines. She kind of reminded me of Deadpool a little bit, without the cursing and the vulgarity. But I just
Yeah,
love how even in serious situations she managed to drop, a funny line here and there.
yeah, very true, very true. But yeah, I thought that was great. I did like. Oh, speaking of second time around that I really enjoyed this time was the virtual Spider-Man or Spider-Woman that we met in the Spider Society. I didn't cut this in the first time, but the second time she was part of the group towards the end. So it was really cool and it makes sense because when
Oh, the
Miles,
virtual Spider-Woman? Oh yeah, I caught that the
yeah,
first time.
yeah, well, oh, so you did, okay.
Yeah.
So for me, I didn't cut her in the first time towards the end. But now with the second time, well, watching it with you again, I catch it particularly because now it makes sense why we were looking on the face on her when Miles was heading to his Earth instead of heading supposedly his universe, but not 42. And it makes sense because she's like really like Miles as well.
Yeah, and I like how at the end it showed all those spider people going to rescue Miles because it showed where their loyalty lies.
Yes, that's very true. Yeah, it makes sense, particularly with Peter B, which was good. Yeah. I guess we did want to get into Easter eggs. I you brought up the Donner Glover flower cameo. I did not expect that.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that either, and to see like a live action character in an animation film, that was just like one of the highlights of this film. And again, I'm sure you noticed the Easter eggs with the sinister sticks. You
Yeah,
saw and you heard them on the radio when they were at Earth 42. So I just wonder, are they going to play a role in this next film, or maybe they were just mentioned for the sake of showing how dark and gloomy Earth 42 is. And
yeah. I'm curious about that. I definitely want to see the Sister Six cartel.
right, exactly.
Yeah, I'm very curious because there's other villains that I want to see in this film, like particularly Mr. Negative, you know, and Mysterio. Like it'd be kind of cool to see Mysterio in action and this animation, you know, because we got the Vulture, the Italian Vulture in the beginning, so it'd be kind of cool to see either one of them to be like the big action sequence, you know. Speaking of Easter eggs, I want to bring up the Commons Cold Authority logo that was brought up. I really like that. They did that in the first film, and that was like a thing that like in the 60s, or well, beginning of the 50s, that showed for every parent that it was a clean comic to read and it was approved from the community. And so I like that they're using that this is proved as it's almost like a meta commentary that this is approved as one of the best like movies to watch. I think that's so meta. Uh, and then another Easter egg that was kind of neat was uh, the 60s Spider-Man popping up and during the escape for Miles was really neat.
Mm-hmm.
The Insomniac Spider-Man popping up. Uh, the PS4 Spider-Man. Between the Video Man characters. That was kind of cool. Um, what else? Spider-Man Unlimited. Uh, there in the background was really great. The other Easter egg was kind of cool. Was the Josh Keaton Spectacular Spider-Man was really great. Spider Cat was my favorite of the variants, so that was neat. So there was a lot of Easter eggs of Spider-Man's. Other Easter eggs that was also cool. I'm trying to figure out that was neat. I guess the big one for me was the Karen event. One of the Karen event for Captain Stacy dying was directly from the comic from Amazing Spider-Man issue 70 during towards the end of the 60s. So that was kind of neat that they put that there. So, was there other Easter eggs that you caught on, Chris? What you want to bring up?
Some, well, actually, some that I caught. Uh, I would say, again, was that when Miles had his Spidey sense, at first his sense it was purple and everything was purple and green, and then in seconds it turned red and blue, and I think that was that was foreshadowing, that plot twist we saw in the end of seeing, Earth 42 Miles variant. And definitely another Easter egg was in the end credits where for a second you see 1610 Miles with face to face with Earth 42 Miles, foreshadowing in the next one, okay, they're definitely going to get out at some point. But I don't think it's going to stay that way. I do think that Earth 42 Miles will become an ally, I guess. I don't think I just can't see him staying as the bad guy because since the spider was supposed to bite him, that means to me that spider sensed some good in him still.
Yeah, because we see a little bit of his spider sense in the light where it was red and blue when we first introduced him as the flower. So, like, it could happen. For me, I don't think could happen. I guess it depends where this flower will go. Because, I mean, the flower always ends up helping Spider-Man. Like, the PS4 Miles game. Like, the flower there helped him out as well. So, I'm kind of curious where we're going to take this version as well. Just like the last one that we dealt with in the Into the Spider-Verse first film. I guess the other one, you brought up the spider sense. That was a really cool detail of foreshadowing. I also want to bring up the foreshadowing of the spider, the 42 spider, when that bit Miles and Earth 1610. I didn't notice this when I rewatched it 2 weeks ago to see the first time with you that it did glitch. So that was a cool foreshadow that it wasn't from this universe. So that was really neat as well. That it foreshadowed that it wasn't the spider that did it was the wrong spider that bit Miles in that Earth.
Yeah, yeah, I didn't catch that. I didn't catch that either. And I know it had been a while since I watched, the first one, but dang, that after the second time I saw it, I thought about it, it's like, wow, they literally gave a hint on the first one, and
Yeah,
it just never came to me until seeing it for the second time.
yeah, I agree. Yeah. I mean, it's very crazy with that. And then the same thing with the spot. He's the guy from the bagel that got hit. So that was funny. Tying into the first one. I guess this is a good time to speak the villain, the Spot. I thought the Spot was a great villain. I like how we were building
He
into
was
him.
funny.
Yeah, he was really funny. Jason Schwartzman, who voiced him, was really awesome choice. I thought he was really great. He really brought the character to life with the comedic moments and then the very terrifying moments. I thought his animation was really great, and yeah, I'm very excited for him to beat the main villain for this two-parter. Um, like he has my favorite when uh he like the running gag of him being the villain of the week was funny. So I thought that was really hilarious. So yeah, the spot was great, villain. I'm very excited to see the next part. What do you thought about the spot, Chris?
Yeah, he was just very funny. and clearly he's just driven by revenge and vengeance, and he's an egomaniac. I mean, you do feel sorry for him in the
Yeah.
sense that because of his accident, he lost everything, and trauma, it can do a lot of things to people. It can either make people stronger and better, or it could twist and pervert people and make people better. But you know, he's doing a very terrible thing. Trying to like take over the entire multiverse, and he's putting millions and millions of lives at risk. But of course, he's not going to see that because he's so blinded by his anger and hatred towards Miles. But
Yeah.
other than that, he was very funny. And I like seeing that duality with villains. Like you see they're evil, but they bring some humor. So I like that kind of duality.
Yeah. No. I agree. I totally 100% with you with that. I always want my villains to have the humor in the philosophy that makes sense with their motivation, which I think the spot really does have, which is good. Just like the previous villain with the Kingpin, which I thought he was also a great villain. Yeah, that's very true, and it was very shocking how they balance it. That's the one thing I want to bring up. Two was the tone of this film. They did just like the first one. What I like about the Spider-Verse films is the tones. They know how to give you a really great time as a comic movie, very funny, and then the action, but also really doing good with the dramatic moments and the emotional arc that we're going through in such a meaningful way. And that's the thing I appreciate about this film, where like some DC or MC films, sometimes the comedy cuts too much of the drama. I thought Spider-Verse does not have that problem. They know how to just balance those things very well. Which I appreciate. Okay. I guess I think it'd be a good time to good time to how you say wrap up Spider Verse. And let's get into some couple things. Do you have any nitpicks and negatives about the film? Um,
Um, I'll say yeah, just Miguel's weird vendetta against Mal.
okay.
That was definitely one of my nitpicks with it. And ooh,
Yeah. Okay.
Spide. I don't know. I was just kind of confused with Spider Woman. At first, she
Mm,
seemed hesitant when Gwen had told her, please, tell him that he's wrong. And then
right.
at the end of the film, she's looking for Miles, and then she's tracking Gwen, and I couldn't tell by her facial expression. So is she gonna try to help Gwen still, or is she still gonna be Miguel's right hand woman and try to find Miles and imprison him? So
Right.
I just didn't know where Spider Woman stands at this point.
Yeah, that's very true. That's a really good point about Spider Woman. I thought the actress Isaac Ray from
Issa Rae, yeah.
Issa Rae, thank you. From Insecure, from the HBO show, was really great voice for this character, and I thought everything around her turned to comedic purposes. I love when she say she brought up Dark Garfield. That was my favorite joke, Dark Garfield. Um, yeah, I agree. I think what they're trying to do is that she's sort of like she's probably in the long game for a while doing this, multiverse hopping with Miguel maybe, and so she's probably in the same boat as him. But she started to kind of shake up. She started having going through the pure beat fucker role as like, she's becoming a mother, and so she probably needs to like realize that what Miguel doing is not really like rational, right? And professional. And so I think she will maybe turn and help the Spire team to defeat the Spot slash Miguel, maybe, in the next film. you know. But it's still kind of weird how they handled it because we don't spend too much time with Spider Woman, and we didn't see her world or she's basically a mentor to Gwen, and stuff like that. So I do agree with that. Same thing, Miguel. I explained that Miguel, like the reason that Miguel does have some problems with Miles is because he's an anomaly. He wasn't supposed to be Spider-Man. So that's like a very legit reason. But the way he handles it, he's one of those archetype characters of being a tragic character because he tried to take over the other Miguel's universe and tried to have a happy life. And honestly, it didn't end up well. So you can understand where he's coming from, being this very dark and very rational Spider-Man version.
But like that's not Miles' fault, and I think he's just taking out his frustration on Miles.
Yeah, but that's the point of the story I think they're trying to convey. But we'll see how they're going to do him in Beyond the Spider-Verse. I think when he sees that the canon can be changed and it's not a tragic thing, he probably will help Miles to save his father. Maybe that's probably where we're going to go with him. Yeah. This dick pic was funny. I don't know what you have this opinion on the cliffhanger because Will had a dick pic and there was like a lot of discussion about this. Was the ending, the cliffhanger? Do you like the cliffhanger of the film and the ending?
I thought it was fine. I mean, I was expecting a cliffhanger anyway, since
Yeah.
I had already known about the third film, so I wasn't expecting the second one to wrap up any storylines. There was going to be two parts, so it was inevitable a cliffhanger was going to come, and I think it was. I think it ended. Just nicely and set up really nicely of what's to come in the next one.
Yeah, I'm with you. That was something that Will brought up. That was funny, but it makes sense. What I say in the previous podcast, not to reiterate too much of it, but like I thought that every arc that we got for this film was kind of close, particularly Gwen's arc. So it's just the Miles arc. It's yet finished. So that's going to be finished in the next part. Two, we know the movie, the third part is coming out. Like we got the title, it's coming out next year, hopefully next year, if the writer's strike doesn't affect it or whatever. So that's two things. So I'm not too worried about it. I thought this was the best cliffhangers since the Avengers Infinity War ending. So like this and Avengers Infinity War had two great cliffhangers in my opinion. Because sometimes two-parters don't really have a good ending. Like Harry Potter.
One of the best since Avengers Infinity War.
Yeah. Wait, you don't like the ending?
No, I think this cliffhanger was a good ending, but for me, it definitely does not top Infinity War.
Okay.
I'll put it at number two, but Infinity War's cliffhanger ending miles above Across the Spider-Verse.
Yeah. Well, I guess to just not to confuse it, I think these two are good cliffhangers, but each one is different. Like Infinity War, you felt more complete with the story, so and it makes sense with the ending they got there. And then here, it's more. It's more like traditional cliffhanger, which is good, in a good way. So, but yeah, so that was another nitpick. I guess what a nitpick I'm trying to figure out. It's kind of funny. That what was let's bring up last names like funny things that was funny like Gonk, Miles' roommate. I love that he's not the person in the chair. That's kind of funny. And I thought that it's kind of funny they didn't do anything with him. He's just still there in the dorm rooms that him and Miles are sharing. And then another one was another Easter egg, and it was funny, was the Peter from Gwen's universe was voiced by Jack Quaid. I think a lot of people were surprised to hear. Salute.
Thank you.
Sequel.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
no problem. So Jack Quaid, voicing Peter in Gwen's universe, was a great choice. I thought he was great, and I didn't even recognize him when he was talking. So that was a good casting. Just like Chris Pine from the last movie, another great choice for Peter. But yeah, another nitpick for me was not too much of Peter B. Despite we got little of him, I still like Peter B as a character. I love Mary J, the baby, MJ, the baby. That was so funny. Just her swinging around, and then just
Spider Baby.
yeah, Spider Baby. Oh my god, I just love everything about the Spider Baby and Peter B. So it was really great to hear that Miles aspired to become a father and want kids, which was great. So that was good. Okay. Anything else from you, Chris? Uh, you want to bring up for Spider Verse? That we want to bring up to discuss.
Yes. I think the third one will be obviously be just as epic, and I'm interested in seeing how Gwen's and Miles' relationship plays out, and Miles and his parents' relationship
Yes.
plays out, and I think the story is going to center on whether the canon event can be changed, and definitely we'll see more of a presence from the Spot.
Yes. That I agree. Um, yeah, I'm very curious where we're gonna wrap up the arcs and the characters in the next film, particularly the parents. I bet. I don't think Miles will probably reveal his secret. Like that's my opinion. Like I don't think Miles will reveal his secret at all to his parents in the next film. Like you will realize that it's okay to reveal your secret to some people, but not all the people, because you want to keep them safe. Like sometimes Peter does reveal his identity to Mary J, or and sometimes it may, but not all the time. Some versions. So I wonder if this version will do it or not. So but yeah. But yeah. So anything else? You think this is a good time to wrap up this podcast?
Yeah, I think we can wrap this up.
Yeah. Well, sorry for the technical difficulties of this podcast. But don't worry, you probably will see the editing magic from Andreas Pop Culture Guy. Chris, thank you so much for being patient and doing this podcast with me. This was a blast, and my allergies are acting up now.
Oh, please feel better, man, and
Yep, yep.
it was fun, and I had fun, and just stay hydrated, drink a lot of water, have like hot and spicy foods, like help clear up your sinuses, and make sure you're breathing fresh air.
Uh, well, at least it's not polluted anymore of the air since the Canadian fire happened last week. So, but yeah, thank you. I just if anything else, the next thing we'll probably do is another. Hopefully, a new trailer comes out. But I think our next big thing will be the Flash. That will be our next discussion. When we get to see it,
I can't wait because I'll have a whole lot to say about that. You know how badly I've been waiting for this film. Took
Yeah,
was in developmental hell for 9 years and went through all these shifts, but finally, it's coming. It's coming.
yeah, I know. It's
And you're
great.
going to see it on Friday. And I know you said you were going to see it on Friday because you're doing another podcast with
Yeah.
Will, right?
This one, maybe. I don't want to guarantee that, but yeah, it will probably be in the MCU Bleeding Edge podcast. So
Okay, okay.
yeah, if you check the Andreas Pop Culture guest spot, I list all the podcasts that I've been in. It will be there. So just to kind of read, I'm gonna pop up in the next DC animation review that was gonna be Superman Batman Apocalypse. That's based on the story of when Supergirl arrived in the new continuity during the mid 2000s. So check that out for Wednesday. That's going to be released, and then Friday will be the Flash forecast for that podcast channel. And I probably will see you on Friday, the Flash. So I will text you as you say for Chris on Sunday, that I'll text you and give you my own thoughts.
Okay. All right. Definitely. And I'll
Yeah.
let you know. And I'll let you know my thoughts too.
Yes. Yes. And then if goes well, maybe the following week we'll see it. Well, we'll probably see it together again. We'll see it together next the following the
Oh yeah,
next.
we'll see it together next Sunday because this Sunday is this Sunday is Father's Day.
Yeah.
Just with my dad. He's not really gonna do anything because the surgery, but
Yeah. Yeah.
me and family are gonna just spend time with him.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is good. So, but that's good. I hope that Sunday will be fun. But yeah, so thank you, Chris, so much. I really appreciate you, buddy, for coming tonight.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me on this podcast, and I can't wait for our next one. And I'll
Yep.
be ready for when we see the Flash.
Yes. Same here. So thank you, everyone, for listening to this podcast on Andreas Pop Culture Talk. Hopefully, this podcast will be released this week, and then the two separate podcasts next week. I'll probably do that. But anyway, looking for this podcast for this week, probably Friday, maybe the latest, or Saturday. But anyway, thank you, Chris. Thank you, everyone, for listening to the podcast. See you guys soon.